Hi. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so sorry I've been away for so long. I think I sort of got into holiday mode, and I actually have pretty great news because over the holidays I've been able to get some new gear, let's say. So as you can see, hopefully the quality of the video has highly improved, and I've been studying new techniques and new settings, and because I want to be able to have something great. And also sound wise, I'm wearing my new I think it's called DJI mic. So it's a wireless mic that just connects to my phone and my camera, and so hopefully the sound is going to be better as well. And I'm really excited to have this new equipment that hopefully is going to work, and it's going to pay off for all of us. I am really sorry that I've been away, as I said, but I traveled back home. I've been seeing my family who's in Italy, so I've been traveling back and forth again, and then now I'm back in England. I just spent a really lovely New Year's Eve with friends, and I'm ready to go back into it because I always feel like New Year's Eve, I sort of don't like New Year's Eve, if I have to be completely honest, just because I feel like everyone is trying to be happy and to love the year that's just gone past, which again, I'm all about gratitude and everything, but I'm more excited for what is coming from the 1st of Jan on, which again, maybe it won't really be that much of a difference, but there's always that little chance and little hope in you that's going to make you think, okay, this is my chance to start afresh. And I'm really excited, especially talking about my reading goal and what's been my 2022 reading goal. Things have changed drastically because, of course, in 2022 I didn't really have a reading goal until late July, because I feel like at the beginning of the year, that's when I found out again that reading could be really therapeutic for me, and it's something that I was really looking forward to. And so from June, July, basically from last summer, I found out that actually Goodreads had that end of the year goal that you can track, and you can track how many books you want to read and everything. So I just gave myself a little, just a little number, which is really, really tiny comparing to apparently everyone on social media who's like, oh, I read 200 books this year, I've read 300 books this year, which again, we don't really want to do that, do we? We just want to make the whole experience really nice for ourselves. That's what I really want to preach on my channel. Everything that I want to talk about is just because we like it and we enjoy it and we want to share it with the world. It's not that I don't want to make it sort of a challenge, like some people say it's not really a challenge when it actually is. So yeah, I basically just gave myself a standard of, I think it was 35 books, which I gladly surpassed, and I tried to count all the books that I read this year, and apparently I think I reached 57 books at the end of the year, which I'm super proud of, because I found out what I really enjoy. I found out that there are some genres and books that I enjoy more than others, and that I want to read in specific times or specific moods, and yeah, my mood really dictates what I enjoy. So now we'll just go into my list of apparently what on my Goodreads said that is my 5 stars from 2022. So let's just dive right in. My first favorite of the year has to be Babel. Yes, Babel by Rebecca Kwong. This book is just a gem, and it's very special to me. Let's just put it here. Because this book, like the essence of this book, it's just what I love the most about literature. So it's just knowledge and expansion to other cultures, and especially languages. I'm fond of translation and languages, and this is what this book is all about. So this is for those who don't know, which again, I don't think it's many, because this year has probably been one of the most popular. This is a, we can sort of define it, a dark academia fantasy book, which is my favorite niche. This is what we found out this year. We'll talk about it at the end, but fantasy, dark academia, top of the list. So this book is about this young student. He's called Robin. He was born in China and he's an orphan. He's brought from China to England from this mysterious man who becomes his guardian or his sort of stepdad in a way, but it's not really a dad. He's not treated very well, but he is asked to go to Oxford and start studying translations because they need someone that was very practical with Mandarin and Chinese and some other languages that like classics mainly. He does that and he thinks that is the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to him. He's very happy, he finds new friends, but then again things start to change because he will find out that actually they need foreign people to create magic, to actually conquer more of the world. So it's all about colonialism, and especially Western colonialism, English colonialism, and how this impacts those kind of population without anyone noticing. It's basically trying to say, even if we're trying to do the good thing for you and the good thing for everyone, this is actually going to impact someone else. And this first part of the book, it's an entire university lecture about linguistics and translation, which is all I love the most about, you know, literature and everything. This is what I studied for my BA, and I'm really excited to have found all of this in here. This book is just special and I really want everyone to read it because it's an epic tale that will leave you sobbing at the end. There was no better ending to me. I know that many people were like, oh, actually the ending is not that great and it could have been different. I think it was perfect. And I'm really happy where Miss Kwong is going with her literature because her books are amazing. The Poppy War is amazing, which came out just before this. It's a trilogy. And there's a new book coming out next year called Yellow Face. I'm really excited to read it. So yeah, I really highly recommend this one. My second favorite book is none other than Secret History. This book is so popular. It's a classic. It's a classic of American literature. And I thought it might be one of those that are actually overhyped on social medias. And I read it and it took me a while to go through it because it's a lot. It seems tiny, but it's about almost more than 600 pages, which again, it's not really an issue usually. But I feel like there's so much packed into this, and the literature and the way this is written is just beautiful, and it will haunt you if you read something like this. I know that people didn't like it because of the characters, and I think this is why I actually enjoyed it. I recently found out this year that literature and books are not about how you see yourself in them. Of course you can see yourself in the characters in the books, that's absolutely fine, and I do that sometimes as well, but it's more about the whole package that comes with it. I despised all of these characters from the first to the last page. But then again, that was the whole point of the book. And this is just beautiful. It's just an immersion into dark academia. If you don't know what dark academia is, it's basically a book or a story that's a setting in a university scenario, but then again something really bad happens, like there might be some fantasy to it, there might be murder. In this case there's murder. The story of this book, it's about a group of students. They become friends after starting universities together, and they find the way to actually meet up and live together and live between culture and book and classics and Latin and all of these things that are absolutely beautiful to read. You just feel like you're transported in this New England university. It's gorgeous. But then again, things happened because they are very privileged, they are very rich, and they think there's no limit to what they can do. This is why the first chapter, actually, like the first page, it's in the blurb as well, it's not a spoiler. They will arrive to murder. The whole thing is a flashback of the story of how it happened and how they arrived to murder. And I think it's just genius. Donna Tartt is amazing. She's an amazing writer. And please pick this one up if you've never read anything like this. And you might enjoy it. There's no fantasy in this one. This is literally pure fiction. This is just thriller fiction, if we can say something like that. and I think I will reread this soon, because this was one of my first books that I picked up when I started reading again this often, and I feel like I might have not enjoyed it as much as I could do now. But yes, this is a must. I'm really ashamed to present my third book because it's a hardback cover and I have lost the cover in it. I feel so ashamed, but this is why I really like having paperbacks, because you can't really miss anything, even if it's gorgeous, it's really pretty. But yes, this is Sorrow and Bliss, as you can see this, by Meg Mason. This book has my heart in a very special way. I can see myself in it, in the character, and everything that's happening in the story, and it made me sob. But it's that sort of cry that it's not a sad cry, it's more of a I feel you, I absolutely hear you, and please keep telling me more, because I was hoping this was not going to end, and I cannot wait to read it again. There's a theme between all these 5 stars. I could read them again like literally tonight. I wouldn't care. This is just, these books have had such an impact on me, that I really hope they can have an impact on you as well. But this is a story of Martha. She is in her, I would say, like late 30s or early 40s, and she's going through her divorce, and she's suffering from a mental illness. It's not named, we don't really know. From the description, it just feels like depression. Like, it's so clear that it's like depression, and she's having many issues with herself, and she finds the courage to actually accept that she's living through this illness, and she will find out many things about herself. So she'll go back to live with her parents, with her sister, and these might be triggers as well, but at the same time she'll just realize that what she's been feeling since she was a teenager, like 17, 16, was actually not being a burden, or not the fact that she felt she was wrong. She's always felt wrong and just broken for her whole life. This is not actually what she is. She is broken, but being broken is part of life, and it's part of the whole process and path that you might encounter in your life. So there's nothing wrong with being broken, and there's nothing wrong with feeling it and going through it and showing it to people and just saying, I'm broken and I need a hand, or maybe it will get better soon, or maybe it won't, but at least I'm saying what I'm going through, and I'm just living with it. I'm not hiding it. And I just feel like this is just special, and I cannot wait for Meg Mason to write more books, probably on the same wavelength if she wants to. But yes, this one to me is probably on top 3 of the best books I've read this year. Another book that it's not really that popular, but I think for me it's been a huge 5-star, immediate 5-star as soon as I finished it. It's Case Study by Graham McRae Burnett. Sorry, it was a long name. This is a beautiful books, the kind that I really enjoy, that feels like it's a book within a book within a book. So it's one of those books that you really have to read and pay attention to it, otherwise you'll feel lost straight away. But it's also one of those that when you'll arrive at the end and you'll figure out actually what happened and how this book it's written, you'll be like, oh my goodness. I wish more people could actually read this, because it's not that popular, and I'm really sad for it. It was one of the shortlisted for the Booker Prize of 2022, and it's about this person, this writer, that finds all these documents about the story of a psychiatrist who was very popular at the end of the 60s, and he basically just investigates what the story was and writes a book about it. But then we find out that actually it's basically fiction within reality, but we don't really know if the author in the book is actually this author. So there's this sort of breaking of the fourth wall, which again, it's all very muddled, and I think this is what's great about this book. So it's about this psychiatrist who's got a very weird reputation for things he's written and his techniques. And there's this woman whose sister actually just passed away, and she wants to find out what pushed her to commit that act. And so she creates this whole persona, goes back to the psychiatrist and starts seeing him regularly. She delves into that sort of new persona and she loses herself in it. She doesn't really know who she is, who everyone else is around her. We don't really know if that's actually her or it's the new character she created for herself. And there's this whole thing, I think it's a study of how the perception of someone's personality might differ from person to person, and between, you know, a specific group of people and other group of people, or between a work scenario, between a family scenario. It's really interesting, very well written, and please pick it up. My next one is actually the only book that's not here, like an actual book, because I read the audiobook, but it's called Hidden Picture by Jason Rekulak. I think this book is one of those books that is very popular. It's a very popular horror, very popular, I can't really describe a supernatural horror because there's so much to it that we don't really know if it's supernatural or not supernatural, but it's a horror. It's not one of those books that I would reread straight away because it's very cliche, but at the same time it entertained me to a level that I could not put it down. I just needed to find out what was happening. I was listening to it in the gym and I was having workouts. It's actually really nice, really entertaining. But it's about this young woman who's a recovering addict, and she picks up this new job in a beautiful house, and she's a nanny. She looks after this kid called Teddy, and he is very peculiar. Starts drawing some really weird drawings of monsters and ghosts and dead people and all of that, and we don't really know what that is because no one believes this new girl, this new nanny. So she tries to find out what actually happened with the kid and with the family, and I feel like it's something that it's not too original, but at the same time I was pretty surprised how the author managed to get the story to flow until the end. And I think it's very interesting for anyone who's into that kind of book. So give it a read. I really enjoyed it. I think it's an easy 5-star for entertainment though. Another one of my favorites of this year is actually, I think you can see it. It's up there. But I can't really take it down because that shelf needs fixing. So I'm not taking anything off, but you can see it up there. This is Sharp Object by Gillian Flynn. This book is so good. So I'm trying to go through all the books that I enjoyed by genre. So we had some narration, we had some fiction, we're having now all the crime, drama, thrillers, and this book is just a masterpiece of drama. If you enjoy a good family drama with murders and everything, please pick this one up. It's very messed up and very it's just full of trigger warnings, like from the first to the last page, but it's gorgeous. If you've read Gone Girl, you've seen the film, it's pretty much on those lines, but I actually enjoyed this one much more. Okay. It's a story of this woman, she's in her early 30s. She's a journalist and she lives in Chicago, I believe. She is investigating on this new crime where 2 girls were found murdered and discovered on a beach of a little lake. But this lake is actually in her hometown where she has loads of trauma, loads of repressed trauma, many issues with her families, and she has to go back and live with her family again. So things are not easy, but she will find out many things about her past, her present, and what her family's been up to until now, especially concerning her little stepsister. They create sort of a strong bond and they have quite a very peculiar relationship in the whole story, but this story is haunting, it's bleak, there are some amazing twists and turns, and it's just gross. I just love that word when it comes to these kind of books, because this is what we want. Do we just want something horrible? We just want like bleakness and all of this to actually enjoy these kind of books, otherwise we wouldn't pick them up, and this one has it all. After this, we have some books that are probably in the proper fantasy setting. So I can say yes, fantasy, but it's more like fantasy with some magic realism, but not as in Babel. Babel was purely fantastical setting. Babel was purely fantastic setting, but then again, there's a lot of history related to Babel. Babel was purely a fantastic setting with a lot of history in it, so it sort of felt like realism with a tiny bit of magic realism in it. It felt weird. It felt like it was the classic sort of a magic sorry, just cut that. And my next favorite book in this fantasy, and my next favorite book is actually The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cook. This book, when I tell you this book has a chokehold on me, this book was more than a fantasy book. This was folklore, this was a history, this was a gothic setting in a very rural Scotland, very stormy and dark. And I read this in 3 days, and it's 500 pages, which again, I know for some people it's not a lot, but for me, it was a pretty good record. And I look just at the cover. It's absolutely insane. It's a story of this young mother with 3 young girls moved to this lighthouse on a little island just next to Scotland. And they just go through so much because they change completely their environment from one night to the other. The kids don't really realize why and what's happening. One day things start getting very weird because they keep hearing about these legends and local legends and witch huntings, and they just think it's fake and nothing's really happening. But people disappear. All of them disappear, and then we have a jump in the book to the older sister who's living in 2021, so it's pretty accurate. Description just feels like it's not a fantasy setting, and then it goes back to fantasy again. And she just describes what it feels like when one day she gets a call from the police saying that her younger sister has just appeared out of nowhere, and she's still 5 years old. And so things start getting very weird, but the whole story is just such a huge, beautiful hymn to motherhood, sisterhood, and newfound family, and just attachment to your roots and folklore. It's gorgeous. It's just fantastic. Please pick this one up because this is so underrated. My next fantasy book, it's a classic. I know, don't come for me, I'm late to the party, but it's The Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is something that I thought I might not enjoy, because hear me out, there's a lot of dark academia in here, so I might enjoy that part, but then again, it's very hyped up on social medias, so I thought that might not really be the case, you see, but I could not put this down. When I tell you this book, I could not put this down. This is so good. Please pick this one up. If you haven't already, which again, I think you would have because this is really popular. This is a story of Alex. She is a young girl. She's probably in her mid-20s, I guess. Mid-20s, late 20s. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember. But she has a rough past, which she cannot really comprehend because she can see ghosts. They're very weird kind of ghosts, but she can see them, she can talk to them, they can touch her, they can do crazy things around her. But then again, she's asked by a random person to apply to Yale University, not for the classic courses, but actually to investigate into all the secret societies that are part of Yale. These are full of people who are there to study magic and spellcasting. This story just felt like basically reading Harry Potter on steroids. This is the best description I can tell you. There's a magic story setting, there's all the classes and lessons to take part in, but it's so dark and so bleak. There are some scenes that I was like, holy mother, this was so intense. Same time, it was gorgeous. I could not put it down. There are some scenes that are a bit okay? But it's very cheesy in some points as well. I think the end is just very much like, I can turn this one into a Netflix movie, and we want that sometimes. We just cannot just read Donna Tartt all our lives. We need some Ninth House sometimes. But I'm also very excited about this because the sequel is coming out next year. Oh, actually, no, it's coming out this year because we're all in 2023. Great. So the sequel is coming out at the end of this month, which has me very excited. And it's all about basically the very end of this book, which ends in a huge cliffhanger. And I'm very sorry for anyone who's read this book 2 years ago because I don't know how you guys actually did it, to be honest. And my last book is actually this one over here. This is a very hyped up book as well. It's called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I think there's many things to say about this book. You read Matt's books because you know what Matt writes about and you love his style. You love some like corny mental health hug that will make you feel so much better after a good cry. And I think why I love The Midnight Library so much. This book came out at the beginning of the year, and it's about this woman who's going through a very, very, very dark path, and she doesn't think she can, you know, keep on staying here anymore. So she is thinking what to do next and how to do it. I'm not going into details because, you know, trigger warnings. But before she's actually going to commit that act, she finds herself transported into this library. It's a fantastic library where she can pick up books, where she can read all the other parts of her life or what could have happened if things might have gone differently. So sometimes she's just wishing, you know, she had a better relationship with her brother, a better job, or she might have lived somewhere else. But then again, every single scenario ends up really badly and in a much worse scenario than where she is right now. And so it's a story about enjoying yourself and discovering yourself and actually coming to terms that the life that you're leading right now, it's just all the choices that you've made throughout your life. And they led you here, and you can't change that. And even if you wanted to change that, you probably wouldn't enjoy that much because this is you. This is the person that you created, that everything around you created. And so I think this is a beautiful book. It's not like, as I said, it's not high literature, but then again, we're not looking for that. We're looking for books that are actually making us feel things, and this does the job beautifully. Some of Matt's old books are some of my favorites. I've read them many times, super annotated, and every time that I'm in a dark spot as well, those books always do the trick. I highly suggest you to pick that one up if you haven't yet, or his other books as well, because they're always such comfort books and they make you feel like you're in the right place at the right time, which I hope you all are. And even if you think you're not, I think you are. So this is the end of my video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you so much for subscribing to my channel even when I wasn't posting that much throughout this last month. And I really hope that you had a great holiday, you're having a great New Year's, and I'll see you soon. Bye.